So thanks very much, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak here again at the Diabetes SA Forum. It's always an enthusiastic crowd we have coming along. You've got yourselves out of bed on a miserable morning. It would have been much more comfortable staying. And we're really keen to tell you about some of the exciting things that are happening in the diabetes research area in the very near vicinity to this building. So what an exciting time for health research in Adelaide. You can see in this picture the health precinct that's developing at this end of town. So I think you can make out on the far right of this picture the building we're in at the moment. And if you cross over Morfett Street, we'll ignore the UniSA building that's going up. That's not finished yet. Look at that next exciting building. That's our new medical school building. That's where we're moving a lot of our studies. Go a couple of buildings over and you've got the famous cheese grater, which is SAMRI, and we collaborate with some excellent scientists there. And then take another step further on and you've got the new RA. And we're all very excited about the opportunities that that's going to afford in a couple of months' time when that move takes place. So here's our new medical school building, the Adelaide Health and Medical Sciences building. I think it's a spectacular looking building. It's already, in fact, in use, so particularly for medical student teaching. This began at the start of the year, and the students are really enjoying the learning opportunities that this building affords. But if you look, the first 3 floors are the sort of more accessible teaching floors. If you go up one level to where the other form of the building starts, that's where our clinical research facility is. And we've got a number of very well-equipped rooms to do different kinds of studies in human volunteers. And some of those people are healthy volunteers, some are people with diabetes, and there are a variety of other researchers studying other populations. But people with type 2 diabetes are one of the major focuses of our research program. And I'm a gastroenterologist, I'm not an endocrinologist, and a lot of people say, well, why are you interested in diabetes? But if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. When we eat a meal, the nutrients go into the stomach, and the rate at which those nutrients empty from the stomach has a huge bearing on how your blood sugar rises after a meal. So in general, if you slow the rate of entry of nutrients, that rise in blood glucose will be a lot flatter. Then the nutrients enter the small intestine and they interact with the lining of the gut there to cause hormone secretion and to suppress your appetite. And that's important. If you want to turn off your appetite so that you don't keep eating, that's a very important mechanism. And you also want to have these hormones secreted because they boost insulin secretion and help deal with the blood glucose response to the carbohydrate that you've consumed. So you can see that the gut is at the centre of blood glucose control after meals. Now, science is telling us a lot about the sensations of taste, and we're all familiar with the different things that we can taste on our tongue. And in recent decades, there's been a lot of work gone into the exact receptors on the tongue that detect sweet, sour, bitter, those kind of sensations. But the really interesting thing is we now know that these same receptors are present in the intestine. And that's part of the mechanism that's detecting nutrients, causing some of these responses that feed back on stomach emptying and hormone secretion. So if we can understand those mechanisms better, I think we're going to be in a really good place to develop new treatments for diabetes. And in particular, the one that I want to focus on today is bitter taste sensation. So we're all familiar with things that taste bitter, and bitter's a very important taste sensation because it's telling us to reject things. If you think about it, it's the things that are toxic or noxious that you probably shouldn't eat. They're the things you want to spit out because they taste bitter. Now, these kind of foods, these are very healthy. We all like to eat lots of these in our healthy diets for diabetes. But of course, the kids won't eat these vegetables. And why is that? It's because they're bitter. So we've got this natural inclination to reject things from our gut that are bitter. And like I said, you've got bitter taste receptors in your tongue, but you've also got them in your gut. Now, the tongue ones are telling you to reject things. And if you've got a poisonous compound that you might have in your kitchen shelves, what do the manufacturers do to that? They make it taste bitter so that if a kid gets hold of it and tries to drink, they're going to spit it out. And what they do is they put one of the most bitter substances known to man called denatonium benzoate, or DB. It's non-toxic in itself. You can give loads of it to children without causing harm, but it's horribly bitter. So they'll take a mouthful and they'll spit this thing out because of the horrible bitter taste. And so this DB compound, this is a really great tool for us to play with in our research. What we've done in healthy people is to put a thin tube through the nose, down into the stomach and into the start of the small intestine, and we've actually given a little dose of DB and looked at what happens to people's appetite. And lo and behold, we found with dosing DB compared to what we call a control, we gave them a dose and then we gave them a meal from which they were allowed to eat as much as they wished, and we found there was a 20% reduction in how much they felt like eating. They couldn't taste the bitterness because it wasn't going onto their tongue at all, it was going directly into their gut, and this proved an extremely effective way of suppressing appetite. So this could be a very useful thing for diabetes research. What we know as well is the same receptors that are suppressing appetite are probably going to slow your stomach emptying as well. So this would be a really useful thing that would slow the release of carbohydrates after a meal. So what do we want to do with this? Well, here's a project that we're about to commence. We don't want to put tubes down everyone to give this DB. What we want to do is give it in a capsule. So you can swallow one of these, probably half an hour before a meal. You won't taste any bitterness because it's all in a gelatin capsule. And that will go into your stomach, dissolve and release the bitter substances directly into the gut. Then we give a test meal and we want to track its emptying from the stomach, and we can again do this in an easy and harmless way by using a breath test. So lots of breath samples get taken for a couple of hours after that meal. And the other thing we want to do is find out what it does to appetite control. So we offer a delightful array of foods from which you've got 30 minutes to eat as much as you like. What a great experience. And this is a very useful way of tracking what people's appetite is doing. So if you're interested in hearing more about this, you're not necessarily committing to being part of any of these studies, but we've got lots of our team here, and they're at one of the tables over that side of the foyer outside, and they'd be really pleased to talk with you, not necessarily about a lot of details today, but if you're interested in hearing more without committing in any way, they'd be keen to take your name and contact details and be able to give you more information subsequently. They're very friendly, they don't bite. So I'm going to finish up there. Thank you very much for your attention.